Same AI, same prompt, 2 results. The one on the left has no brand voice, no tone of voice. It just sounds like every AI generated post you've ever read and forgot about. The one on the right is on brand, and it sounds like someone who actually works at the company wrote it. The difference isn't just like a better prompt. It's a 20-minute setup that you just do once, and I'm gonna walk you through the entire thing. We're gonna use a fictional company called Gridwell as project management software for marketing teams. So let's set the baseline for how Claude writes when we don't have any context. So here I say, write a 200-word intro for a blog post about why marketing teams should consolidate their project management tools. We don't have any additional context here. And look, it's coming out with AI slop, right? Like it's creating something, but we see a lot of these M dashes. We're going to see a lot of things like it's not X, it's Y, and all these other tropes that we get here. And if we paste it into this thing called Hemingway, we can see that we have a lot of sentences that are very hard to read. AI is very used to writing this. I mean, like here's one sentence. It's just a very long sentence. This is not easy for people to digest. And if we look here, this is grade 15 level, which is not great. You want to aim for like 9th grade level, just so that everyone can easily read it and they don't have to like, have a degree in something just to kind of consume the content. But first of all, this sounds like every other piece of AI written content. And that's what we're going to fix in this video. By the end of this video, it's going to sound completely different, and the way we get there is by building up layers of context. Let's start with the foundation. Before we create any files or write any brand docs, we need to lay the foundation. There are 2 things in Cowork that most people skip right past, and they make a huge difference. So let's open up the settings. We're going to go to Cowork, and what we're going to do is hit edit on global instructions. Now, this is where you tell Claude who you are, not your brand, not this project, you as a person. This follows you with every project, every conversation that you have in Cowork. So I'm going to paste in this profile here, and it says, I'm Sarah Chen, Content Marketing Manager at Gridwell. We say what we're responsible for, how we like to work with AI, and so on. I'm telling it how I think, how I like to collaborate, and what kind of work I actually want back. This is like the difference between a freelancer knowing nothing versus a freelancer who's worked with you for 6 months and really gets how you operate. You fill this whole thing in once. Every conversation after that, Claude already knows all of these details. Now let's create the actual project. So open Cowork, create a new project. And we're going to start from scratch. We're going to name it Gridwell. We're not going to give any instructions yet, and we're not going to add any files yet, but I will choose to put it in my projects directory. Click open and create. Now everything that we're setting up here in this project applies to any content we create for this brand. Blog posts, emails, social, landing pages. It's going to be one project with one brand voice. Later we'll build skills that specialize for each content type, but the foundation is the same. So every project in Cowork has an instructions panel. I'm going to click the edit button here. And you want to think of this as like a standing brief. Whatever you write here, Claude reads it at the start of every single conversation in this project. Now in here, I'm pasting these project instructions. I'm not going to put our brand details in here. That's going to live in its own file. What goes in project instructions is behavior, the rules that apply no matter what kind of content we're creating. So notice what I'm doing here. I'm separating 2 things that most people mash together. The project instructions tell Claude how to behave. So these are the project instructions that I'll be pasting in. I'm not going to put brand details in the project instructions. That's going to live in its own file. What goes in project instructions is behavior. These are the rules that apply no matter what kind of content we are creating. So default behavior, things to always do, things to never do. So I'm going to copy this and we're going to paste it into Claude. Now notice that it says, before you write anything, read the brand context document and all example content files in this document. These are your source of truth for voice, tone, and audience. We don't have those in this folder yet, so that's what we're going to be doing next. When I created the Gridwell project, I chose to put it in my projects directory, and they created a folder here with nothing in it yet. And that's where I'm going to be dropping my brand context document. We have who we are talking to, how we sound. We use things like short sentences, short paragraphs. That's going to be important. It's going to really change the way that Claude is writing for us, and you'll see that in a little bit. Simpler words, you and your team, second person always. We never use leverage, synergy, in today's fast pace or any variation of that opening, M dashes. So these things are going to change the way that Claude is creating for us. What makes us different, and brand colors. That's not going to come into play here, but important in case we create something down the line like a PowerPoint presentation. Now, only include what Claude can't figure out on its own. You don't need to tell it to like write well or use proper grammar. It already knows that, but what it can't know is your specific voice, your audience, and your banned words, things like that. That's what goes in here. And keep it short. If this document gets too long, Claude starts skimming it, kind of like a person would. A sharp 1-page brand brief is gonna beat a 40-page huge brand guidelines map. Now let's run that same prompt again and see what kind of result we get. We still don't have example content in here, but we've given it enough context that we should see a difference. All right, just looking at it, I already see a difference in that there's no em dashes. These are shorter sentences. Let's copy and paste it into Hemingway and see the difference. So a lot of red, a lot of long, complicated sentences, and much, much different. A lot more simpler sentences that go along with the brand. I'm not saying your brand needs to write like this, but I'm showing you the big difference that putting these documents in there really does change the way that it's writing. I think this is like the most visual way that I can show you. And look at that, 5th grade reading level. So everyone's gonna understand this content. So it's better and it knows who we are, it's following the rules, but it doesn't quite sound like us yet. It's like a freelancer who read the brief but hasn't seen any of our actual content, and that's what we're gonna fix now. I'm gonna drop in 3 context documents. This is example content for a blog intro, for a marketing email, and for social posts. Now, the benefit here is that instead of trying to describe your writing style in words, you can just show Claude what good content looks like at your company. It's the difference between asking someone to paint something abstract or showing them like a Picasso painting and being like, I want something like this. For my examples, each one has a note at the top saying why this is a good example. I think that's really crucial so that it's copying the right things. It's understanding why you like this piece. And you already have content like this. You just find 2 or 3 pieces that represent how you want to sound and drop them in the folder. That's really it. Now Claude has the brand context and it's seen what good content looks like, but now we'd have to remind Claude to use all of this every time we ask for something, and every blog post would come back with a different structure. That's what skills fix. Right now, if I want a good blog post from Claude, I'd have to write something like, always open with something specific, a scenario, a real number, a question. Never open with a general statement about the industry. Break posts into sections with subheadings every 200 to 300 words. Like I'd have to write that every single time for each blog post. And if I forget a step or my coworker doesn't know the right prompt, the output's gonna suffer. A skill is that entire prompt saved. You build it once, and from then on you just say, write me a blog post about X, and the skill reads the right files, follows the right structure, runs the right checks every time, whether you're rushing before a deadline or someone else on your team is using this project for the first time. This is where the one project approach pays off. The project handles the brand voice, the skill handles the content type. You can build a blog post skill, an email skill, a LinkedIn skill. They all live in the same Gridwell project. They all inherit the same brand context and instructions, but each one knows the specific structure and rules for its content type. So let's make our first skill. We're gonna go to customize here, and I'm gonna go to skills. I'm gonna put the plus sign, create skill. I'm gonna create with Claude, but with this, it's gonna hold your hand as we create it. So I have a prompt already written that really details out how I want my blog post. And you can see, we don't need to go into the details here, but you can just see that this is a detailed blog post prompt that I don't really want to have to paste in every single time. I don't want to have to type this out for sure every single time that I want a blog post. So I'm going to copy this here, and this is what I'm going to paste in. And it's going to go through and pull out things like break posts into sections with subheadings every 200 to 300 words, and with a clear specific next step, not get started today, something the reader can actually do. So things like these I want baked into every blog post that we write, and it agrees this is a great detailed spec. So it's going to continue and build this out for us. And right here it just says that it's going to look for the brand context and example files wherever it's running, like in a Claude project. So that's perfect. It says that our spec is unusually complete, so it's going to draft the skill now rather than pepper us with questions. If it's giving you questions, that's great. Go ahead through and it's going to walk you through answering all those questions. All right, now we see that it has created our blog post skill. You see how long and detailed this skill is. It is, but it's been created for us by Claude based on what I put in that prompt. I'm gonna test the skill on a sample post before we finalize it. No, the draft looks good because I want to run it inside the project, which is not where we are right now. We are in chat. It kicked us over to chat to create this. So no, the draft looks good. And you have the Gridwell brand context skip testing. And that is good for us for now. Okay, so for you, it might just install it straight up, but for me, it asked me to save the skill like this, skill saved. You can click manage, and we will see that we have skill creator, which is what we just used, and we have Gridwell blog posts. This is a new skill that we have just installed and created. So if we go to Cowork, projects, Gridwell, and now we ask for a blog post, it would follow all those directions. But one of the directions said that we need templates. So I'm going to bring templates now into the equation. So we have example content, but now we have templates as well. I'm going to separate these out like this. There's our content, brand context, our example content, and templates. Now, why templates when we already have example content? Well, the example content is mainly to see the voice and like the tone, where the template has very clear setups for the title, the opening, the middle, like is this a pain point post, a how-to post, a lesson or observation, and closing. And then after writing, it has a checklist within this template. Did you check the we never use list? So that's why we are using templates along with the example content, because the example content does not say the actual structure of what we want to get out of it. With AI, if you ask for a blog post 3 times, you'll get 3 different structures. And filling in a structure is easier for AI than starting from a blank page. There's less room to drift. Now that we have our context within Cowork, we have our instructions within the Gridwell project, we have our brand context, our example content, and our templates, we can now ask for a blog post about why marketing teams should consolidate their project management tools, just like we did at the beginning. And instead, we are going to get a full blog post that is in the tone of voice of Gridwell. And let's see what it does. It goes through, it finds all of the files that are relevant. It finds the template for the blog post. And we can see what's been loaded into the context over here, as well as the skill that it's using here, which we created. Now look at this. We have progress indicators up here that it's created for us. Drafting blog post, self-check against brand voice and quality standards. That's fantastic. That is going to pull in those documents that we created. It's going to do a self-check and it's going to update the blog post to make sure that it's taken all that into account. And then it's going to actually create a document for us in the project folder. Okay, it drafted the blog post. It ran through a self-check afterwards. It said second person throughout, no sentence exceeds 1 comma, things like that are all in our brand context documents. And here's our draft. So let's check it out. I'm going to actually copy it. We have it over here on the side. I'm going to copy it and paste it into Hemingway and see if the entire thing looks much more like what we're expecting. Yeah. So very, very different kind of blog post than we would get. Remember, this is the same AI, same topic. Look at the difference though. The first one reads like a committee wrote it. This one reads like a person who actually knows what they're talking about and respects your time. And if your blog post skill didn't work the way that you wanted it to, you can go back to customize, skills, blog posts, and go up here to the 3 dots. And you can say, you can try it in chat, you can edit it or edit with Claude. So you can have a conversation and say, hey, I didn't like the way that worked and here's why. And it'll help you to amend the original skill. So these are not set in stone, but they now live here inside the customize panel under skills. And anytime I say, like, I want a Gridwell blog post, it's going to automatically reach for that skill and use it. So we added a good amount of context, but what we got out of that was so valuable and saves us so much time in the end. And that's only going to multiply as you create more and more blog posts. So the thing I want you to take away from this is that the reason AI sounds generic isn't because it's necessarily bad at writing. It's because you haven't given it the context that it needs, like the settings to tell it who you are, the project instructions to tell it how to work, the brand context tells it who the brand is, the examples show it what good sounds like, and the skill ties it all together into one command. This setup takes about 20 minutes, but you do it once, and then it's like every other piece of content you ask for starts from a foundation instead of just a blank page and a recycled prompt. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and I will catch you in the next one.